So I've got a few of these pretty fun little Milescraft 90-degree drill and driver angle changing devices. They call them a drill plus and a drive plus and an orbiter. And I'll run through why they're useful and what kind of applications they're really good for. The first one that I'm going to have a play with is the Drive 90 Plus. So this is designed primarily for little tiny driver bits, and it allows you to get so close into places at a 90-degree angle that your driver couldn't get. Even though my driver is quite stubby and it's pretty handy for exactly that reason, this just allows you to get even closer in a couple of directions. So firstly, this driver will get into this cavity just fine. But if this little box was smaller and it just didn't fit, I could lock that in place and all of a sudden I can get into a hole that's only 5 centimeters wide, and this just won't get anywhere near that. And the reason that that might be so useful is if you're trying to drive a screw into a really small spot, maybe if you're trying to mount something onto the inside of a stud wall between the studs and you can't get one of these in, or under the sink, or even inside of the engine bay of a car where you just can't get your driver or your drill in. Even though these are primarily designed for these little hex bits, especially these stubby ones, you can just as easily place a little hex mounted drill bit in any size drill bit that fits into a hex mount, and you could also use that as well. So it makes it super versatile. This is the only one of the range which is designed to also be used with an impact driver, which is fantastic because, you know, if if an application needs something to be driven with an impact driver, this will do it really well. So as well as allowing you to get into really tight spaces in this direction, it's also, because it's so narrow, allows you to get right into the corner of things. So I've put 2 holes in this timber, which you can see close up here. It's only about 1 centimeter away from the bottom. And I couldn't do that with my driver because the body is just so much fatter. The closest I can get is about 2 centimeters from the bottom. And that's where this is going to be really handy. The next one I want to look at is similar, but it's designed primarily for drill bits rather than for driver bits. It has actually a keyless chuck rather than just a hex bit insert like the driver does. So you can use most standard size drill bits as well as spade bits and you know, countersink bits and that sort of thing. The principle is exactly the same. You can attach any standard drill onto there rather than a driver, and then that just connects right up. You can chuck any drill bit you would like into this. You don't need a key for it. Really good solid gears in these things, and then you can get this into positions that you wouldn't be able to otherwise in awkward spots and tight spaces. Also has this really handy little handle which you can remove if you want, but it just gives you a bit more pressure, a bit more ability to keep it dead straight in situations where that might be really awkward. So another really handy piece of equipment. Last but not least is the Orbiter 1300. So it's similar in a lot of ways to the Drill Plus, as in it's chucked into a standard drill with a standard chuck, and it also has its own keyless chuck on there, so it's designed for drill bits as well as driver bits. But what sets this apart is you're not just locked into a 90-degree angle, because all of the components of this move independently from each other while still keeping all of the gears engaged. So you can move the component here where you put the drill. You can move the component here where you put your bit or your drill bit or spade bit or whatever you need to do. You can also completely independently move this handle. So what that means is that you basically have access to any angle that you need, including the angle of the handle, to get into really awkward spots. And then once you've put that exactly where you need it, you just turn the handle and it locks in place, and it's all really solid. So dead easy to use, super versatile. You possibly can't get it into as many super tight cracks and gaps as you can with this little tiny driver, but the versatility is in the fact that you can get any angle you want, and I think that's really, really useful. Feels super solid. There's some really good quality bearings and gears in there, and this handle has a little rubber grip. Really easy to use, and it just feels like a really high quality tool because it is. So all of these are super handy for the handyman and tradesman. Any kind of thing you need to do at home where you need to get into a tight spot. These will get you out of a tight spot. We've got, you can grab the Drive 90 Plus as well as the Drill 90 Plus and the Milescraft Orbiter at Timbecon. And you can grab it online on their website, timbecon.com.au, or in either of their stores in Perth and in Melbourne.